What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video here on Peg City Hockey. With the 2024 draft looming in the distance, I think it's about time that we talk about it and look forward at some potential options the Jets might select with their 37th pick. They do not have a first-round pick this year because they traded it away to get Sean Monahan, but in the Pierre-Luc Dubois trade to the LA Kings, they acquired Montreal's second-round pick, which is 37th, so it's a pretty high second-round pick, so there is a pretty good chance that the Jets will be able to score some decent talent at that spot still available on day 2, picking very, very early. So I think it's about time that we look forward and, kind of just go through a couple options that I've been seeing that have been floating out there, and the guys that I really think could make a difference in the prospect pool and that have some, excitement. Because again, this isn't going to be a year where we see the Jets really selecting that future top 6 guy that's going to carry us potentially, that guy that's really exciting because it's a second round pick. Second round picks, they can still be very good, obviously, not when it's knocking a second round pick here, but they still don't have that pedigree, and it's a little bit more risk at that point, and you have a lot more freedom, I would add, as well, considered to a first-round pick. And I think that the Jets might go off the board and pick a little bit of an exciting, more development prospect this year because they don't have a first. And since we're going to be starting off in that regard, we're going to talk about a forward playing in the WHL, a guy who's played with Connor Bedard. That is Tanner Howe. He is a center on the Regina Pats in the WHL. And I think that he could be a very good pick for the Winnipeg Jets. He has played pretty damn well in the WHL when you look at his stats. He has spent 3 years with the Regina Pats, and he's had some really good years. 69 points in his first year in 2021, 85 points with Connor Bedard in 2022-2023, and then this year as the captain of the Pats, he put up 77 points in 68 games, and he had a pretty damn good year, and I think a lot of analysts have him going, potentially in the later halves of that first round, and then falling in the very early parts of the second round. So he could get scooped up by a team, pretty late in the first round. But if he is still available for the Winnipeg Jets at 37, I think he would be a solid look, a solid option, and a good development prospect. He's not a guy that's going to need to be worrying about making the league anytime soon. He can come into the Manitoba Moose and play there if you even something like that as an overager, as a captain. I think it could be a good fit. He could also go back and play in the WHL, I think, for one more year, if I'm not mistaken. So, he has options. He's played for Team Canada, and he's been a pretty good, consistent player. I think a lot of people were always going to say that his numbers are inflated because of Connor Bedard, but he only, this year without him as the captain of the Pats, he put up 77 points, and the year before that, it was 85 points. So, I think that this guy has shown that he can play with top-tier talent, and, as well as being in his own self top-tier talent. Especially for the junior hockey. So if he's just a guy that's still available for the Winnipeg Jets to potentially select at that spot, I think it would be a pretty good option. His game is, okay, I really like his game. He's definitely not the most skillful guy out there at times, but he is the hardest worker, and I like that in a hockey player. I like a good power forward forechecker. He's got a lot of grit. He's got a lot of good balance in his offensive defense, and he can forecheck extremely well. Having played, like I said, with Connor Bedard, he's really able to play that role even better when having skilled players on his line. He can go into the corners, play that dirty, gritty style of hockey, while the more skilled guys, are able to kind of cut around the corners and make those plays, and he can, set them up from the corner. And it's also a guy that can score the puck, like he is not, bad at, he's 36 goals with Connor Bedard, 28 goals this year without him, so that's not bad at all. And he could be, kind of like an Andrew Kopp type fit down there potentially to compare him to a past Jet, in that type of role, third line checker that can play up at times, definitely not a super top talent guy, but can definitely help jump up in the lineup and play in certain spots when you need him to. And I'm looking at his NHL, type of development that I see him getting into. And I think that it would be a good selection for the Jets, honestly. Like, if he's a guy that could go in the first round, but if he is still available for the Jets at 37, I think this is a guy that they should definitely take. I have him near the top of my list in that spot. Like, all of these guys I would be pretty happy with. And again, if none of them get selected, it's not going to matter that much because you can take risk with the second, with the third round pick. You can take more of a development process type guy who's going to need a few more years to get there, but you have a lot of faith in. And I think the Jets might look at doing that, but if they want to go with a good pick that should be ready, in 3 years, I think a guy like Tanner Howe would be a perfect selection. Next, we're going to be talking about Lucas Peterson, who is playing, who plays for the Moto Hockey League, J20 League out there. and in Sweden, and he's been pretty damn good in the Moto League. 35 points this year at the U18 International Junior Tournament. You've just been really damn good numbers. You look at 57 points with Moto Hockey, the J20 team in the J20 National League in Sweden. 57 points, 27 goals. This is a guy who is really, really good, and he's a center, let me add. And I think that this could, be another guy that has a couple of years into his development process still before he really makes a jump to the Moose and an AHL opportunity, and even the NHL in that regard. But could be an interesting pick nonetheless, Like I was been saying earlier on, you want to look at guys that, might need a little bit more time, because the second round holds a lot of those players, a lot of really skilled guys, a lot of guys that know what they're doing that could be first round picks, but, if they were just maybe if they were a year later in the draft, they might be a first-round pick type deal. And that's the type of thing with Lucas Peterson, I think. I think that, he's really done well with Moto, and he's put up incredible numbers for an 18-year-old as a centerman. And he's played pretty well on the international stage, I might add, as well. So this is definitely a guy I think the Jets could look at. They've selected a couple of guys in the past that have been pretty good on Team Sweden. Fabian Wagner is a guy like that, Elias Samuelsson. A lot of good players from Sweden the Jets have looked at in past years in later rounds of the draft. So this could be a guy that they definitely look at, and I wouldn't definitely be not opposed to it. He's got a lot of skill. And the next guy that I really think could be a really good pick for the Jets is Dominic Badinka, who is currently playing out in the Malmo Redhawks in the J20 League as well. And this is over in the Czech League, I should add, the J20 Czech League, in the SHL, and he's been very good. Like the thing with these European players, and especially guys that are like a defenseman like this, a young defenseman, they can, look at Ville Heinola, right? Like stuff like that. They can take a while to develop. And I think with Ville potentially breaking into the team this year, I really think if he's healthy for preseason, depending on also with the departures this year in the offseason with the defense, with Brendan Dillon will be walking. Is Nate Schmidt going to get bought out? Or Neil Pionk going to be traded? A lot of questions right now in the defense. So I think Ville Heinola really does get a shot this year. And if the Jets are looking at another, potential offensive guy who can, really kind of fit that mold of replacing Ville Heinola in a couple of years, I definitely would think that, despite his age, he's averaged 15 minutes per night, which is very rare to see for a veteran dominant at SHL. This is a guy who's very, very young, and he's already earned the trust of his coaches and has played very responsibly, and I think that he is, could be a guy that could really fit well on the Jets' right side, a big puck-moving defender who could really, be a guy to keep their eye on going into that second-round spot. There are a lot of options available, obviously. And I think Badinka could be more of that wild card spot where, you don't know what you're going to be getting with him, kind of like, how Brad Lambert fell. But Badinka, though, has potential, and I think that if he's not available even in the third round, with some of the other picks maybe, but I think that the Jets should go out there and try to make a risky pick, a development pick. I think you have a lot of prospects that are really ready to jump at opportunity right now in the system that have been growing for a while, and a guy like Badinka definitely fits that mold of a future development prospect. But all of these guys are just kind of, names that I've been seeing out there. I've done a little bit of research into, watched the highlights, and really liked what I've seen from them. But like I've said before, there's not as much expectations on this pick on being an absolute hit. You can go out there and find good, talented guys. I hope they don't fumble it and take an absolute, complete risky case. But there are a lot of good players this year that will be available in the second round. I actually like the second round, a little bit more than I like the mid-first round this year. I think there's a lot more guys there that are, going to be hyped up because it's a weaker draft. The second round could have a lot of steals in it, and I think Badinka could definitely be a guy that could be a steal for the Jets and help really boost that defensive core up in the long term. So, these are just three guys, like I said, that I've liked. I would love to hear you guys' thought three, just let me name your three prospects that you've liked, or even just one that you would really like to see the Jets pick at 37. Obviously, if they get a first-round pick in a trade in the coming weeks, we'll have to know, and that'll be awesome. We'll have to see what happens with that. But as of now, this is our highest pick. These are the guys that we are looking at taking, and I am very excited to see what's going to happen and who exactly the Jets are going to take at this spot. Will it be a guy like Tanner Howe? Will Lucas Peterson jump up into their rankings, or are they going to take a riskier guy, a young 18-year-old in Dominic Badinka, who's kind of just starting to get into his professional hockey career at a high level and, has played pretty damn well. So I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts down in the comment section below. As always, very interested to see what the Jets management is going to do heading into this draft. It should be a good one, especially because it's at the Sphere. Crazy venue. Hopefully they'll have some actually good quality shit on TV for once with it. And yeah, looking forward to it. Maybe we'll do a live stream. No promises yet. We're going to have to wait and see. But peace, love, and positivity as always. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram. Check out all the affiliate links down in the description below. Have a great rest of your day. Go Jets, go. and I will see you guys in the next one very, very soon.
It'll all be over.